What's up, everybody? Welcome to today's edition of Everyday Discipline, where we decode, deconstruct, and reverse engineer self-discipline for you to get whatever it is you want in your life. My name is Brent Kokel, and I am your host. I am both of those things. They are true. Thank you guys for being here on the show with me today. So I want to share a story with you guys that typically I wouldn't share something like this because it's somewhat private between me and somebody else, but I need to share it with you guys because there's a really, really valuable lesson. And also, I got convicted on this one and something that happened to me recently. So let me roll into the story here. There was, to get into my highest level of programs, you have to apply. I don't want to just work with anybody because there's a certain energy that a person needs to have. There's a certain desire somebody needs to have. And I just need to gel with them because that way I can ultimately help somebody get results. If I don't gel with them or I don't like them or I don't think they're ready, like I'm not going to let them in. I don't care if they're willing to pay or not. I just won't. So we go through this process of filling out an application because I want to see where you're at. And then we go through an interview. And we go through an interview process really to kind of feel each other out and to see if what it is that the person on the other end of the phone wants in their life is something that I help with inside of my program. So we have this conversation. And I remember having this conversation with a guy maybe about 6 or 8 months ago that wound up like re-triggering in my brain in the last couple days because of something else that happened I'll tell you about in a minute. But I'm on the phone with this guy and I'm asking him, like, well, what are your ideal outcomes? Like, what do you want to have happen for you? And what came out of his mouth pretty quickly was, he's like, I want to look like you physically. Like he's talking about me, wants to look like me, Brent, physically. And I guess what he'd seen is, I used to be on Instagram. I got rid of it. I actually deleted all the social media apps off of my phone because I thought they were a time suck. And I never felt better about myself when I would either post something or look at something on social media. It just was a huge time suck. So I got rid of it. But I was on Instagram for a while. And I think it was probably right when I was like finishing 75 hard for maybe the second time. And like, I looked pretty good. Like I get what he was saying. Like I was really chiseled. I didn't have hardly any fat on me. I had a six pack, like visible. And like, I get it. Like I understand that. But he said that's what he wanted. That was his ideal outcome. He wanted to look like that. And he used me as the image of what he wanted to look like to describe it. And then he goes on and he says, and listen, what I'm willing to do, like I will do anything I need to do in order to look like that. I'll work out 3 days a week. And I usually have about an hour. So if I can work out 3 days a week, I will do that. And then also, I promise you that I'm going to be amazing on my meals for 5 days out of the week. The other 2 days, probably going to eat what I want. I travel a little bit. I like to have dessert and stuff like that. So work out 3 days a week, and I am going to eat pretty well 5 days a week. And this is really what this guy says to me. And I'm in my head going like, dude, you're never going to get the results that you say you want with that level of effort. It just won't happen. I mean, because really my fitness journey, while it's been on and off, like, I mean, there's times where it's more on than it is. I guess relative to most people, it's always on. But for me, it's kind of a roller coaster. Sometimes it's like super fit, and then sometimes it's just like okay fit. Like right now, I'm just okay fit. And it's been a 25-year journey. Maybe even longer than that. Maybe like 27 years. Because I started fitness when I was like 15 years old. And I've been paying attention to like what workouts I'm doing. I've been paying attention to what I've been eating for that period of time. And it's consistent. When I was doing this, when I like that picture that he saw that said, I want to look like that, I was doing 2 workouts a day for 75 days. And those were 2 like CrossFit workouts, like really, really hard stuff. And it was a different story. And I was on it. I hadn't eaten like a French fry or a chip in 75 days. Not to mention the fact that I already ate pretty clean before that for 25 plus years. So it was a big level of effort. And in my mind, I'm thinking like, this person's expectations don't match up with their intended effort. Right? It doesn't match up. And this isn't a statement of judgment because, we do this all the time. I do this all the time. And this is where I got convicted recently. So I was watching this video on YouTube. I forget, somebody sent it to me. And it's a video of this guy, Alex Hormozi. I think it's spelled Hormozi, I think. If I'm butchering that, I apologize. But anyway, this guy's awesome. He just like, you can tell he's a genuine dude. You can tell that he's like the way he thinks, he's super successful. He wrote this book called $100 Million Offers. If you haven't read it, grab a copy of it. I grabbed a copy of it, and it really changed the way that I thought about a lot of different things. But I was watching this video of his, and like I said, somebody sent it to me, and he was talking about effort. And specifically, what convicted me was he was talking about growth in online businesses, which is where I'm at right now, right? That's what I'm doing. Like all of my business, at least in the coaching space, is online. Commercial real estate, that's obviously offline, but coaching is online. And this is what I feel called to do more than anything. So it's all online. And he says, listen, when you're trying to do that, whatever level of effort you think is a 10, and it's not producing the result you want, it might not be that you understand what a level 10 of effort looks like. And so I'm sitting there going like, maybe I don't understand what a level 10 of effort looks like, because I'm recording like a podcast a week, and I just got serious about doing YouTube like a week and a half ago. Whenever you're listening to this, if you're listening to it like right when it's on, right like the week that I record this podcast, yeah, my YouTube channel has got like fucking 500 something followers, maybe. I might have like 380 or something like that. But I just got serious about actually making good videos. Like I just made my first good video for YouTube in that format last week. I make good videos on my website, but I hadn't made them on YouTube. And I was doing that like once a week, and the effort wasn't really there. And I was thinking like, I'm going to buy my way in and I'll do ads and all that. And so, we went in and spent a bunch of ads, but how much creative were we testing? Like we were testing the headline and the copy and the image and the video. And it's like, how many of those were we really testing? And he was sharing, this guy Alex was sharing like what his level 10 effort is. And it was dramatically different. It's like showed me what an actual level 10 was, and I got convicted. Because it wasn't like, oh, you do one podcast a week, huh? It's like, bro, you got to do at least 3. Oh, you do one YouTube video every 2 weeks? How about 4 every week? Oh, you test 5 creatives a week in your ads? How about 30 every 3 days? And what I recognized in this, and why I want to share you guys this story, is because I, Brent, did not recognize, like I'm the guy that does the work, but I didn't recognize that the work, my definition of it, was really only a half measure. It wasn't a full measure. It wasn't anywhere close to what it needed to be to achieve the result that I ultimately wanted to achieve, which is a lot bigger than the result that I've got. Now, the crazy part about this is I started looking everywhere in my life where I thought I was putting forth a 10 out of 10 effort. But then I realized that my results weren't really 10 out of 10. There was always something that I was striving for. I shared with you guys what was up in business. By the way, expect a lot more content coming your way soon, right? You're going to get podcasts way more often if podcasts are your thing. If you want to look at YouTube, you can check it out. Just search my name, Brent Kocal, BrentKocal, and you will find my channel over there. Depending on when you listen to this, there might be a ton of content on it because you're listening to this show 5 years after I recorded it, or it might be that you're doing it this week and the content that's there is the content that's there. Watch the newest videos first, because that is where I actually figured out how to do a YouTube video and put the effort into doing it. I've already shared that, but then I started looking at it and it's like, yeah, there are times where I have a 10 out of 10 effort in my body. And it shows up. That picture that guy saw that I told you about the interview, that was a 10 out of 10 effort for 75 days straight, which is a super hard thing to do. That whole 75 hard thing sounds simple. It's like, oh man, all I got to do is these couple of things every day. It's the consistency, doing them over and over and over again. And I wanted to do it in part because I help people with self-discipline, and I help them do the things that they don't want to do. That's a pretty well-known thing, I feel like, 75 hard. And so I wanted to do it multiple times in a row to just prove that I could and to be an example. And I know that's egoic, and I know I shouldn't have, but that's really where it was. But dude, that was a 10 out of 10 effort. And I know that, and I got the results of a 10 out of 10 effort. Visible six-pack at 43 years old. That's what it is. Then I started thinking about it. Well, it's like, what I think is a 10 out of 10 effort with my wife or with my children? And it's like I take my wife on a couple dates every week. We go away together without the kids every quarter. But there's a lot of times when we're just kind of both really exhausted, tired. We're sitting there watching Netflix and we're not really connecting. And so it's like you think that's a 10 out of 10 effort because you go on all these dates and you go on a quarterly getaway. But really, is that a 10 out of 10? Or is that more like an 8 out of 10? And when I think about the relationship with my children, man, I got convicted there too, because I think I'm putting a 10 out of 10 in, but I didn't understand what a 10 out of 10 really looks like, because I go to all my son's sports games, but I don't coach them. Their dads there that coach those. I go to my daughter's performances and play performances, but like I'm not helping set up props. I'm not running lines with her at night so she remembers like what it is to say. Like I'm not doing that stuff. And so is that a 10 out of 10? And yeah, I meditate for 40 minutes every day, which I think is a 10 out of 10. I don't think you can really do more than that unless you're a monk. And I read the Bible every day. I read a chapter a day, and then I just think about like, what is it that this is saying to me? And it's like, is that a 10 out of 10 or is that south of that? And the truth is that there are places where I don't know what a 10 out of 10 looks like. But I can tell you that if you feel like you're putting a 10 out of 10 into something and your result is anything less than you want, chances are that it's not to do with anything other than you don't understand what a 10 out of 10 actually looks like. And that's not your fault. It's not something that you did wrong. It's just that you don't recognize that your 10 is somebody else's 6. And you can put in that same amount of effort. You're just choosing not to because naturally what you want, and what I think I wanted, was I wanted the result with the minimal amount of effort possible, because you see all these things as like, get this really cool thing without having to do that, right? I've seen like a headline on Men's Health, and I use this sometimes too, is that it says, like there was a headline once that I saw in the checkout line at the grocery store that said, get 6-pack abs, still eat pizza. And it's like, I've had 6-pack abs and you cannot eat pizza while you're doing that unless you're like 20 years old. Then it probably works. But when you're in your 40s, it doesn't work that way. But when your expectations aren't in line with a 10 out of 10 effort, you think you're going to get a 10 out of 10 result without what a true 10 out of 10 effort is, you're going to set yourself up for frustration every single time. And that's what I recognize. And I wanted to share this story with you guys. One, because it was super powerful for me. And it was just to recognize that it's like, oh, what I thought was a 10 out of 10, really it's probably like a 6, maybe a 7 out of 10. And I've got to jump up to a 10 if I want the 10 result. So elite results require elite effort. Ask yourself, how are your efforts? Are your efforts truly a 10 out of 10 or you just think so? And here's the easy way to figure it out. Here's the way that I figured it out. Is that when the results that I wanted, because we all dream in 10 out of 10 results, don't we? We don't start a new business thinking like, it'll be awesome if I could just struggle with that thing and work my ass off for 3 years and end up not making a single dollar from it myself, or even worse, having to pay for it. Like, we don't think about that. We think like, oh, I'm gonna start this business, I'm gonna make it work, and I'm gonna start paying myself, we think like millions of dollars in the next 3 years. But the reality is, it's like, it'd be really good if I could get that thing to pay me like 400 grand in the next 3 years. Like take home, not top line, bottom line. We think that way. But really, it's like that's the expectation. What is the level of effort necessary? What's the 10 out of 10 effort to get that thing look like? And that's what we wind up missing. So I want you to think about this as I wrap up this episode, knowing that elite results require elite effort. 10 out of 10 results require a 10 out of 10 effort. Where is it that your 10, your perception of 10 is really a 6? And then take action. Take action on whatever that is to make sure that you're a 10 out of 10 to get that result that you want. There's no reason you have to be frustrated. All you have to do is put in the work. All right, guys, that's it. That's the show for the day, everybody. As always, thank you so much for joining me. And thank you to those of you that have followed the little simple request that I ask at the end of the episodes, which is just to rate this show. Whatever program you're listening to it on, whatever platform you're listening to it on, just rate the show, because that helps me with the algorithm. I feel like my mission in life and what I've been called to do is to help people do the hard things that they don't want to do, that are going to improve their lives somehow. And when you rate this show and share this show with other people you think need to hear the message, helps me out with the algorithm. More people get to see the show, and more people will hear the message that passes through these lips. So thank you very much for doing that. If it's something that you've already done, if you haven't done it yet, please do that today. Take just a second of your time, and I greatly appreciate that. All right, guys, that's all I got for you today. I'm going to do my job and come back next time, though. I want you to do your job, and you come back too.